Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. Slightly different location today, but we're just going to go with it. The puppy is also here as well. Do you want to say hello? Look, you want to say hello? Yeah, the puppy's here as well because he was wanting some cuddles, so I thought he might as well sit on my knee while I film. Today we have got another wedding themed video. I know I seem to be bringing out a lot of wedding content at the moment, but I hope you're still enjoying it. Today is actually a video that I decided to film after the Q&A video I filmed, which you still haven't seen because I'm still having editing issues, but let's not talk about that again. One of the questions I got asked when I asked for questions for that Q&A was, what is something that you wish you had known before your wedding day? And when I was trying to think of my answer for that one, there was quite a few answers that I could give. So I thought, why not sort of make that a video of its own? I have quite a few sort of opinions and ideas of things that I would have liked to have been told or would have liked to have believed before my wedding day, that it seems silly to squash it all down into one answer in a Q&A when I could make it a video of its own. And hopefully this will be helpful to some of you future brides out there. So let's just get started. I've got about 10 points that I want to go through, but I'll try not to ramble on too much and make this too long. If you do enjoy this video, don't forget to click that like button, give it the thumbs up, because then it will recommend it to so many more people and I would love to see this channel grow. If you aren't subscribed already, if this is the first time you're watching me, welcome to my channel. I do wedding content, lifestyle content, there will be travel content coming in the near future, so please do click that subscribe button if you haven't already. I would love to have you stick around. So let's get on with today's video, and the first point that I want to talk about is that no one is going to notice and no one is going to care about your flaws on your wedding day. Every single bride, I would think, will have at least one thing about their appearance that will, you can see him in the background, that will play on their mind in the lead up to their wedding day. For me, it was my arms, this bit here of my arms. I am very self-conscious about this bit of my arms. That's why I prefer to wear t-shirt style tops rather than like tank tops. And my wedding dress, if you haven't seen already, was sort of cut off to here. It didn't have any kind of a sleeve. And for about maybe the 2 to 3 months leading up to the wedding, once it got to like the year of the wedding, I became increasingly conscious of the fact that I didn't want to look like I had fat upper arms on the wedding day, especially when I was thinking about the photos and the video from the wedding. I felt like I was going to look at those photos and video and think, oh my God, my arms look huge. And that really did bother me. Don't get me wrong, I absolutely loved my wedding dress, even though I'm saying it's a style that I wouldn't normally wear. I loved and still do love my wedding dress, but I was a bit concerned over the fact that I didn't want to look back at all of our gorgeous photos and video and just feel like my eyes were drawn straight to my arms. That is something that played on my mind. So I just want to put this out there to every bride-to-be, and even grooms, if you're watching, if you're going to be a groom and you've got something about your appearance that is bothering you, I can 100% promise you that 1, not only will no one else notice it on your wedding day, but 2, you won't think about it on your wedding day, and 3, when you look back at your photos and video afterwards, you still won't notice it. When I look at our photos now, if I think to myself, oh, do my arms look fat on that photo, I can look and probably pick fault and think, yeah, they maybe do a bit. But when I look at those photos, all I see is amazing photos. And I remember how amazing I felt on the day. I remember how gorgeous I felt, how much I loved my dress. I remember what a wonderful day we had. I remember how much I enjoyed having those photos taken. I don't immediately look at that photo and think, oh, my arms look fat. So I can promise you that you will not think about it on the day. No one else will notice it, and you won't notice it afterwards when you're looking back at the photos. So please, please do not spend time in the lead up to the wedding worrying about whatever you think your flaw is, because you really don't need to. Second point, and this is something that I don't really hear many people say, depending on the style of your wedding dress, it could be heavy, and I mean heavy. if you've already seen some of the photos and things that I've put on my Instagram page or in the thumbnails from here, from our wedding day, you will have seen that I did have quite a biggish dress. It had a lot of underskirt to it, there was a lot of material to it, and it was heavy. Like the day after the wedding, my husband now went to pick up my dress to help me hang it up and put it in the bag that I'd taken to bring it home in. And he couldn't believe how heavy it was. And I said to him, like, yeah, I had to wear that all day yesterday. Like, I got into that dress round about maybe 11:30 the morning of the wedding, and I literally had it on until about 12:30 that night. And it got heavy. My dress did have bones in the bodice, and the longer the day went on, the more I could feel the weight of the dress making the bottom of those bones dig into me. And when I looked the day after, I did have bruises where my dress had dug in because of the weight of it for wearing it all day. So don't underestimate the fact of how heavy your dress is going to be. It can be a perfect fit. My seamstress made my dress fit like a glove. It was a perfect fit and it was completely comfortable. I could breathe. I ate a full 3-course meal and some buffet. It was absolutely perfect, but it was still so heavy. And especially because I spent most of the wedding night on the dance floor, I definitely felt that weight after a while. And especially when I took it off, once we went to bed, I could feel the weight sort of lift off me when I took that dress off. So that is definitely something that I wish I had known, or something that I wish I'd thought of, because now looking back, it seems quite obvious. Like, there's a ton of fabric in that dress. It is going to be heavy, but it just wasn't something that crossed my mind. So that is definitely something that I wish that I'd thought of beforehand. Not that there's really anything you can do to prepare for it, but it would just have been nice to mentally prepare for the fact that I was going to be wearing such a heavy dress all day. Number 3 is that you probably don't need as much cake as you think you're going to need. Now, I am completely happy with our cake. I loved our cake. It was my dream cake. It was made exactly as we hoped for, even better than we hoped for. And don't get me wrong, I am glad that we had a lot left, because it means we've still got some in the freezer that we can keep eating, because it was delicious. But something that I did worry about was making sure that there was enough cake for all of our guests. I had made little individual boxes to put the cake slices in for guests to be able to take a slice home with them as they left. And something that did concern me in the lead up to the wedding was that we would definitely have enough cake. Like, what if a guest took a couple of pieces, or what if quite a few guests took a couple of pieces? Was there still going to be enough for everybody? The people who were staying at the hotel the night of the wedding, everyone else was going to have took their pieces before they got any, so was there definitely going to be some left for them? Things like that. I'm an overthinker, so things like that I did think about before the day, and I did really hope we were going to have enough. Going by the numbers that our cake maker told us, we should definitely have had more than enough. But believe me, we had more than enough. So if you are trying to think of your budget, and if cake isn't necessarily something that you want to spend a lot of money on, because as we all probably know, wedding cakes are expensive, then you probably can afford to cut down slightly on that cake. We had a 4-tier cake, but one of the tiers, the top tier, was just a dummy tier. So we really had 3 tiers of cake for our guests to actually eat. We had asked to bring the smallest of those 3 home with us, so that left 2 to be cut up for the guests. And we brought home half of the biggest bottom tier. So we only actually used our medium tier and half of the bottom tier, and that was for roughly 90 people to 100 people. So if that is something that you're thinking about for your budget, where can you cut back, what can you scale down on, then definitely think about your cake, because you probably are going to end up with a lot left to spare. Number 4, and I know this is something that a lot of people do talk about, like brides that are recently married and things, a lot of people will say this to you. Everyone said this to me before the day, but it goes by so quickly. Like, people said this to me before the day. Everyone said, like, appreciate every moment, like, take it all in, because it will just go by like that. And I was aware of that. I did try to soak everything in. I did try to enjoy every moment, make the most of it. because I knew that everyone had told me it would go by quickly. And on the day itself, it didn't really feel like it was. Like, I felt like I was enjoying the day and we were getting this amazing experience of this day. And it was the perfect wedding day for us. But I didn't spend the day thinking, oh God, the day's just running away with me. Like, where has this day gone? I didn't feel like that at all. But the next day, when I woke up, I was like, I can't believe it's over. Like, I can't believe the day has just gone. So I just want to stress, even though I know everyone else does, I did think it was important to include it in this video, that just enjoy the day as much as you can. Don't feel like you have to do things to please other people. Do what you want to do on the day. Make sure you enjoy your day. Eat the food. Spend the whole night on the dance floor. Spend time with your new husband or wife. Just do what you want to do to make the most of the day, because as everybody says, it does go by so quickly. Now, I promise that is probably the only thing on here that is an obvious one. All of the others are things that I haven't necessarily heard people talk about so much, but I did think it was important to include that one because it is the one that everybody knows, the one that everybody says, and however many times you're told it, I don't think you truly appreciate it until your own wedding is over. So I wanted to make sure I included it. My next one, number 5, is something that a lot of people would maybe think of anyway. It was maybe just me being naive with time and being stupid. But I booked all of my beauty appointments as well as some other appointments for the day before the wedding. I did this for a couple of reasons. One, I wanted to be able to relax and enjoy the week leading up to the wedding. I didn't want to have to constantly think, oh, I've got this to do today, I've got this to do today. I wanted to have just a few days even where I knew everything was done and I could just relax and enjoy it. And the second reason is because I know that if I get my nails done too soon, I'll break them. And I wanted everything to feel fresh for the wedding day. So I made my hair appointment, my eyebrow appointment, my nail appointment. I made all of that for the day before the wedding, as well as needing to go to the florist, needing to pick up my dress, our wedding rehearsal. He's seen another dog out the window, that's why he's making those noises. So yeah, I packed everything into the day before the wedding, and that was such a stupid idea. I felt like I spent the full day before the wedding running around like a headless chicken. I had too much jammed into the day. I was barely at home. I barely had a chance to sit down. I barely had anything to eat until night time. And honestly, it was just so stressful. Like, I felt like I was constantly running behind all day. My nail appointment got pushed back to 20 minutes later, which I ended up not liking the nails anyway and took them off and just did my own. I then had to rush to my hair appointment. I was late getting out of my hair and my eyebrow appointment, so that meant I had to rush to the florist. That meant I barely had any time to get home, so I didn't really eat any dinner before I went to pick up my dress. The whole day just felt like a rush, and I can remember actually saying to my husband, then fiance, on that day, tomorrow had better be worth all of this stress, because in the whole lead up to the wedding, ignoring all the postponing, in the whole lead up to the wedding, I had not felt stressed really. I had felt like everything was under control. I knew that I was getting everything done, and I didn't really feel too much stress. But on that one day, my stress levels were like up to here, and I would not recommend it. So regardless of whether you want things to be as fresh as possible for your wedding day, spread them out a little bit, even if it's just in the 2 or 3 days before the wedding. Give yourself time to actually relax and enjoy the pampering rather than feeling like you're running from A to B to C, and it'll feel more like a chore rather than a fun part of the wedding. So yeah, don't be stupid like me. Don't try and pack it all into one day, because you're not going to enjoy it and it's just going to ruin the day before really. So yeah, spread it out if you can. Number 6 is actually a good piece of advice in general, not just for weddings, but especially in regards to my wedding. I wouldn't say I am a control freak, but I like to know that things are being done right. So I don't like having to rely on other people to do things for me. I obviously welcome the help. I am more than willing to ask for help when I need it, but I still like to be involved. So the idea of leaving things up to other people on the wedding day, in the lead up, it did worry me. So for example, my in-laws and some of the people from where my mother-in-law works were setting up the reception venue for us the day before the wedding. Even though I have seen them do setups before and they always look stunning, and even though I had given them step-by-step instructions of everything that I wanted, I still wished I could do it myself. Like, if I'd have been able to go and do it all myself, or at least be there in case they had any questions about anything, then I would have, but there just wasn't the time for me to be able to do that. So leaving it completely up to somebody else did worry me slightly. And a similar situation for the decor at church. Most of it was done by the florist, but there was a welcome sign, there was a sign about confetti, there was the pens for us signing the register. There was just a few bits, orders of service that needed put out at church. Now, this couldn't be done until the morning of the wedding, which obviously nobody has any time to go and do that the morning of the wedding because everybody's getting ready. So I left those jobs up to the best men and the groomsmen, so that when they arrived at church, they could just quickly put it all out. I actually WhatsApped them all a PDF about a week or two before the wedding to tell them where I wanted things and what needed put out. And while obviously in theory I trusted them to do it, at the same time it was hard for me to let go of that bit of control and put my trust completely in other people to get it done, knowing that I wouldn't be able to check if it was done right until I got there, and then it was too late if it wasn't. So yeah, it was hard for me to let other people take over in a way, but everything, and I mean everything, was perfect. At the reception, at the church, everything was where it was meant to be. They did everything exactly as I wanted it to. Everything looked perfect. To be fair, on the day of the wedding, on the morning of the wedding, I didn't even think about any of it, which I thought I would. I was expecting the morning of the wedding me to be texting them being like, have you put this out? Have you put this out? Is this where it should be? And I didn't even think about it. So I guess the moral of that story is just trust people a bit more. If you're like me and you like to be the one making sure everything's done right, just put that little bit more trust in people to know that it's going to get done, and also to know that if it's not perfect, it won't really matter. Point number 7 is that people will appreciate all of the little details. In the few months leading up to our wedding, I kept seeing a lot on social media, on wedding forums, things like that, that people don't really notice the details. And while that might be true in some cases, that did make me wonder whether I had wasted my time with a lot of the things I've been doing. So as you all know on this channel, or if you follow me on Instagram, I had made a lot of things for our wedding. A lot of things that you don't necessarily need, but things that we really wanted and that I enjoyed making. And on the lead up to the wedding, when I kept seeing everybody saying that no one will notice if you've got this, no one will notice if you've done this, it made me think, well, have I wasted my time? And I convinced myself on the lead up to it that even if nobody else did notice or appreciate it, I would appreciate it. I would know that I'd put that work in and I would be glad that it was there. For example, things like favours. A lot of people say nowadays that you don't need favours, nobody really cares about them, people will just put them in the bin, nobody's that bothered. And while that's maybe true, they maybe do just end up going in the bin, and while I'm sure nobody would go to a wedding and sit down and say, well, I haven't got a favour. Like, nobody's going to think like that. While that is true, I know that people at our wedding appreciated the effort that we had put in and appreciated all of our little details. I had people specifically comment to me what a good job we'd done with everything, how much effort we'd put into everything, how much they liked the favours or the table names, the ladder that I'd made, the confetti that I sat and spent months punching out by myself. Like, people complimented all of it, people did appreciate it, and that just made it even more worthwhile. So if you're one of those people like me that has spent a long time making things for your wedding, only to start reading that people aren't going to notice it anyway, they will. People will notice, people will appreciate it, and it is worth your time. So don't get disheartened. If you want things at your wedding, if you want to take that time to make things, do it. And don't listen to what other people say. People do appreciate it. People wouldn't care if you didn't have it. They're not going to be annoyed if something isn't there, but people will appreciate it when it is. So yeah, don't put too much emphasis on things like that go around social media, because there always seems to be one fad or another that people are saying you don't need. At the minute, people are saying it's ridiculous to have flip-flops because it's a waste, and they all just end up like you can't recycle them and all this, and nobody actually uses them. Well, people did at our wedding and people appreciated them. So yeah, take what other people say with a pinch of salt, basically. Number 8 is that some of your favourite parts of the day will end up being things that you would never have thought of and that you would never expect. Every bride and every groom-to-be has parts of their day that they are most looking forward to. For us, a big part of that was just being married, because we'd postponed 4 times. So a big part of that was just finally getting to be married. But I was also really looking forward to our first dance. I was looking forward to getting ready the morning of the wedding. I was looking forward to getting to the end of the aisle and finally being there with him, knowing that we were about to get married. There was a lot of big parts of the day that I was looking forward to. But you will find that some of the main things that stick in your mind and some of the main happy memories of the day are things that you don't expect. So for example, on our day, I have mentioned this in my Q&A, which you are yet to see. One of my favourite parts of the day was the 20-minute car journey from our church to our reception venue, where it was just me and Richard on our own in the car. We got to chat about our mornings, chat about the fact that we were finally married. And yeah, it was just nice to be in that little bubble, just the two of us, nobody else around, just to enjoy that feeling of just being married. And that isn't something that I had thought about before the wedding. I know everyone had said, like, make sure you spend time just the two of you, but I hadn't really put much thought into when we would do that. I just thought we would catch a moment here and there throughout the day. I hadn't thought about the fact we would have a full 20-minute car journey to ourselves just to be us in that just married bubble. So that was something I wasn't expecting. That was really, really lovely. Another part of the day that really sticks in my mind was after we had done the confetti throwing. The kids at the wedding were playing in the confetti. I've actually got a photo of one of the kids at the wedding making like when you do snow angels, and she was doing that in the confetti, and they were just loving it so much, like throwing it around, gathering it all up and putting it in their bags. Like, kids love confetti. And yeah, just seeing them playing and enjoying themselves was such an amazing part of the day, and it is something that really sticks in my mind. Likewise, another part of the day that I didn't expect was that when one of the best men made his speech, he got heckled by my little cousin because he made a reference to a football team, and everyone thought that was hilarious. Like, their interaction in that moment was just so funny, and it was just so unexpected and so cute, and it was just a really funny, like, heartwarming part of the day, and that is one of my favourite memories. So it's going to be those little things that you can't plan for, you don't think about beforehand, you don't expect, and they will end up being some of your favourite parts of the day. So yeah, I guess what I'm trying to say is that before your wedding, just remember that it's not always the big things that matter. Don't put too much emphasis on the big parts of the day. Try and soak in all of the little parts as well. Hope you're still with me out there. I'm not quite sure how long this video is going to have ended up being, and if I look like I'm being really strange, it's because the dog's playing tug of war with me. But I'm going to keep filming. I want to keep going and get this video finished for everybody, because I'm actually filming this on the day that I'm going to upload it. So yeah, I've got 2 more points to go, so I hope you're still with me. Point number 9 is that walking down the aisle isn't as scary as you think it's going to be. This is something I really wish someone had given me a shake, sat me down, looked me in the eyes and said to me, it is not as scary as you're expecting, because I was terrified of walking down the aisle. It was the one thing about the day that I was most nervous about. The thought of everybody turning around and staring at me, like, I'm not an extrovert, I'm not a massively social person, I don't enjoy being the centre of attention, which isn't easy when you're the bride on your wedding day. So I was really not looking forward to the idea of everyone turning around and looking at me as I walked down the aisle. I had this stupid fear that I would trip or that my shoe would come off and I would fall over. And I know that's stupid. Even before the wedding, I knew that was a stupid fear to have, but it was still there in the back of my mind. And especially because I wasn't going to be wearing my glasses, I had this worry about not being able to see anything properly that was just making it even worse. And I was just terrified of the idea of walking down the aisle. The thought of hearing the music at church was nice, and the thought of getting to the end of the aisle was nice, but the idea of actually walking down the aisle was terrifying. But it was nowhere near as bad as I was expecting. It is the one part of the day that on the day I did feel a twinge of nerves. Most of the morning I was completely calm. Even the priest said to me when I got there that I was the most calm bride he had ever seen. The only time I felt a twinge of nerves was when I could see my bridesmaids, flower girl, page boy, maid of honour, I could see them walking down the aisle, and I was stood at the doorway with my uncle, looking down the aisle, waiting for it to be sort of my time to go. And I said to my uncle, that aisle looks a heck of a lot longer than I remember it being. And that is the one point I felt a twinge of nerves. But even standing there then, when I felt a bit nervous, I was nowhere near as scared as I thought I was going to be. And it was nowhere near as bad as I was imagining. I didn't fall over. I was nowhere near falling over. Even if I had started to fall over, I'm pretty sure my uncle could have caught me. Nobody, like, it didn't feel like people were turning around and staring. People obviously turn to look as you walk down the aisle, that's what they do, but it didn't feel like this all eyes on me feeling like I was expecting it to. It was nice to see people looking at me, and more than anything, after the last couple of years, it was just nice to be able to look and see all of our friends and family in one place, to see this big crowd of people all there to celebrate with us. After the last 2 years, it's been a long time since you've been able to see all your friends and family in one place. So I think all of the positive emotions of that moment sort of made any worries or fears that I had had beforehand disappear. So yeah, that is something I definitely want to stress to any brides that are as scared as I was. Please don't be scared. It is nowhere near as bad as you're expecting it to be, and you'll probably find that you actually enjoy it like I did. And then the last thing that I want to end on, and I think this is a good one to end on, is, this is going to sound strange, but something that I wish I had thought of before our wedding day is that everything could go perfectly. Everyone says to you in the lead up to your wedding, especially as it gets closer, expect something to go wrong. It's fine if things go wrong. It's fine if things don't go to plan. If this doesn't happen, no one's going to notice. If this runs a bit late, it doesn't matter. Everyone tries to sort of prepare you for the idea that things could go wrong and that not everything will go perfectly. And I think that means you spend a lot of time coming up with backup plans or trying to mentally prepare yourself for what if this doesn't go right, what if this doesn't happen. Just trying to sort of drum into your own head not to get upset or not to stress about things going wrong. And I think we spend so much time convincing ourselves that it doesn't matter if things go wrong, that we don't think about the fact that things could go right. Like on our wedding day, everything went perfectly. Now I know you're probably watching this and thinking, yeah, right, okay. But genuinely, everything went perfectly. Like, yeah, there was a couple of times in the ceremony where I spoke when Richard was supposed to speak, or like Richard went to pick up the rings before the priest had blessed them, and the priest actually called Richard my surname. So yeah, there was little things like that, but in the grand scheme of things going wrong, everything was perfect. And I don't think I appreciated that enough until afterwards, because in the lead up, I had convinced myself that something's bound to go wrong, but it's fine if it does. I think that's sort of like the mantra that all couples drum into their heads in the lead up to their wedding. They convince themselves that something will go wrong, but if it does, it doesn't matter. I think I must have said that about 50 times in the week leading up to our wedding. But you should think about the fact as well that everything might go perfect. Like, I know nobody wants to get their hopes up and nobody wants to be thrown when they're expecting things to go perfect and it doesn't. But have a bit of positive thinking. Tell yourself, yes, my wedding day is gonna be perfect, because it could be. Looking back on it now, our wedding day was absolutely perfect. And I wish I had thought about that more beforehand. I wish I had told myself, rather than saying over and over again, something will probably go wrong, but it won't matter. I wish I'd told myself, everything's going to be perfect. Because then I think I would have appreciated that more. So yeah, that is my final point. And I guess that's probably my main point, that you need to think positive and not try and prepare yourself so much for things going wrong, because chances are nothing will go wrong. Yeah, I guess that's my main point. So I hope that you have enjoyed this video. I'm sorry if it's been another long one, but I tend to ramble when I talk about the wedding. Yeah, I hope you have enjoyed it. Please do come back again next week. I think next week I'm going to do part 2 of the wedding DIYs, because I really enjoyed showing you all of those last week, and I also really want to get everything out of my dining room. So I think I'm going to do that for next week, so please do come back and see that. As I said at the beginning of the video, if you have enjoyed this, please do give it a thumbs up and even share it with other people. Try and get the word out to as many people as possible. And if you're not subscribed already, please do click that subscribe button. I have some really fun video ideas planned for the future, and in just 10 weeks, I think it is now, we will be going on our 3-week honeymoon to LA and Florida. I will be vlogging the full trip, so there will be plenty of videos to come from that. So make sure you subscribe and click the notification bell so that you never miss a video. And I will see you next week. Bye.